Hi and welcome to the Popcorn Junkies. I am reviewing a movie, a horror film. You are warned. I know a lot of you can't really stomach horror films, but this is a horror film called Barbarian. This stars Georgina Campbell, it stars Bill Skarsgård, and it stars Justin Long. This is a film with a very simple conceit at its front, but is a highly effective thriller slash horror film. So what's the premise? The premise is Georgina has booked an Airbnb in Detroit, or in the suburbs of Detroit. She's heading off for an interview with a documentary filmmaker to be a researcher on it, and so she's staying in an Airbnb. She arrives at night, so can't quite see what the neighbourhood's like, knocks on the door, looks for the key not there, door locked. What's happened? A double booking. And who's the double booking? Bill Skarsgård, which is always going to be a bit nerve-wracking because you're going to sort of look behind him to see if there are any red balloons sort of hanging around. Of course, Bill Skarsgård having played Pennywise in It. The first 30 to 40 minutes of this film I thought was really neatly done. I thought the performance was really nicely acted. I thought Bill Skarsgård was great. I thought Georgina Campbell was brilliant. As they walked around each other, they were kind of trying to judge each other. They were sort of cagey with each other. They sort of had each other at arm's length as they were trying to work out, you know, she's a single woman, she's in a place with a man. How much can she trust him? He pitched it perfectly, the right side or the wrong, every now and then the wrong side of being a bit creepy or a bit too amenable or a bit too gallant and a bit too chivalrous. And so you have all that kind of classic stuff, but it was really neat sort of coming together, a sort of socially awkward situation that I really bought into and actually believed. You know, they both tried to phone the Airbnb owner, they couldn't get through to the person and all that kind of stuff. So it was a very believable premise, which was really neat. Nighttime descends. Well, nighttime's already descended. They go to bed. And of course, Georgina Campbell wakes up. She's woken up by Bill Skarsgård's character making all sorts of whittering sounds on the bed. And then, I can't remember exactly why, it's revealed to us that there's a door that goes down into the basement. And so consequently, there's a sense that has something come up and come into the house. Maybe it has. Bill Skarsgård goes down, or Georgina Campbell goes down, and Bill Skarsgård goes down. And so this is a film that's basically about a labyrinth that lives or it exists beneath this house. You know, it's a really effective, jump scary kind of thing, which spends an awful lot of time in the dark, moving along corridors. You've got the classic situations where you're sort of saying, don't leave the door ajar because it's gonna fall shut. The door falls shut and all sorts of things. Bill Skarsgård, it's a clever twist. Spoiler alert here, spoiler alert. It's a clever twist because of course you think he's the monster, but then you discover that actually he's going to become a victim of sorts. And so Georgina Campbell finds herself in a desperately stressed state, trying to get the police to believe her that actually there's a man who's gone down into the basement and he's come to a grisly end. It's revealed to us in one of the trips down into the sort of basement and into the kind of cavernous underbelly of what feels like not just this house but the entire street. It's also revealed to us, obviously in daytime the next day, that this neighbourhood is severely battered up and smashed, and it's an old suburban street which once was glorious but has become so dilapidated that all the houses are derelict and they've got shutter boards coming off, and you know, there's all sorts of people, and there's this guy who keeps running, who at one point runs towards the house, a little bit reminiscent at that moment in Get Out where the gardener runs past Daniel Kaluuya, and she shuts the door thinking he's a menace. We're going to discover that actually he's much more useful than that later in the film. And so this film really develops along the lines of, you know, oh, what's underneath the house? Oh, where's Bill Skarsgård gone? Oh, what's Georgina Campbell going to do? And consequently, Georgina Campbell goes missing. The character of Tess, Georgina Campbell, goes missing too. And the film completely splits into a completely different film. We then are suddenly following a completely different character called A.J. Gilbride, who's an actor on his uppers. He's driving his sports car down the sort of Pacific Coast Highway, but it won't be. It'll be in Detroit somewhere. Or maybe it is in LA and he flies to Detroit. And he essentially gets caught up in a hashtag Me Too drama. He's been accused of raping another actress. So you immediately don't like this guy, and yet it's that clever thing in a horror film where you don't like him because you think, oh, has he done this? And it's kind of revealed when he's having a chat with a mate of his in a bar that his boundaries around when a woman says no are deeply, deeply dubious. So you're kind of put in this kind of awkward situation where you're kind of thinking, well, I want to root for this guy, but I don't like him. Well, of course, he's the owner of the fucking Airbnb, isn't he? So he's heading to the Airbnb, and when he gets there, there's evidence that someone's been there, but they've gone. And of course, then there's the bloody labyrinthine tunnels and stairs going down into the basement. And you know, the reason I'm kind of simplifying it like that is this film is that simple, and yet it's still highly effective. But what have we seen from earlier when Georgina Campbell's character went down there? We have seen that there's this really dank, horrible, frightening room with just a bed with blood on it, blood-stained mattress, a camera, a sort of VHS camcorder, and a television. And it's really eerie. And Nadia would hate this because it's Hicksville. It's Hicksville, it's hillbillies, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque. And then we've seen already, but we see in more detail when this guy, AJ Gilbride, goes down there. We see the creature. And what is the creature? Well, what's clever about this film is the creature a creature? Or is it just a sort of decrepit, troglodyte, cavernous thing, human, that's evolved and developed into this monstrously strong sort of Neanderthal type creature? It's got breasts, so it's female. There's a film playing on one of the televisions down there of breastfeeding and bottle feeding babies. As this character, the #MeToo actor, has got down there, he falls into a cage and we discover that Tess, the Georgina Campbell character, is still alive. She's still alive, but she's being held prisoner. Why is she being held prisoner? Because the creature thinks she's its baby. But then she wants him to be her baby, and that's where this film becomes fun, because you're kind of wanting him to die, this #MeToo actor, and you're wanting to see what happens to him. And we do have, again, spoiler alert here, one of the most extraordinarily disgusting scenes where at one point the creature, the sort of child-obsessed creature, drags him off to her room to breastfeed him. And we have the most appalling scene of her decrepit and rotten and horrendous breasts being squeezed into his mouth. So you can see why it's got an 18 certificate. We've also had a flashback in the film which takes us back to a man, a sort of serial killer type man actually, who has been bringing people back to his lair underneath his house back in the day when the suburbs were really nice and the shutterballs were really clean and the street was full of primary colours. But he's this really sort of weird character who obviously has been bringing people in and taking them downstairs. And AJ Gilbride, the #MeToo actor, also discovers down in this cavernous area there's this really old man in a bed just watching a television, and he's got all these VHS cassettes, and on the edge of the VHS cassettes is a description of the kind of woman. It'll be like blonde-headed at the supermarket, or strange-looking lady by the car. And these are the way in which they've described these people that they've kidnapped, taken down. What have they done? Have they eaten them? Anyway, so this old guy in the bed, I presume, is the guy that we've seen in the flashback who's been bringing people down. And so, as with most of these kind of horror films, it kind of loses its shit and it loses kind of focus towards the end as the creature and the horror kind of comes out of the cavernous underbelly of this house and it goes into the street. And the guy who was running towards them, like, get out, he tries to save them, something happens to him, and then they for some reason run up a water tower type thing. What's quite nice at the end is that you really get a feeling for how the #MeToo actor is truly amoral, as he essentially throws Tess, Georgina Campbell's character, at the monster or over the edge and then hopes the monster will get her and all this kind of stuff. This is a film in which you get this particular moment. There is a character that has their eyeballs popped out and they come out around the thumbs, the eyes. And then I used to open apples by putting my fingers into the core area and splitting it open. Fingers go into eyeballs, split open the head like an apple. It happens. I thought it was a highly effective, disgusting, gruesome, stressful, sick, gut-churningly sick horror film, which when you go out on a night near Halloween is exactly what you want. I would say this is head and shoulders, split head and shoulders above the recent movie Smile. And if I was to give it a score in and of its own terms as a genre film, I'd probably give it 82 out of 100.
For more film and family fun, don't forget to click the subscribe button and make sure to click the bell to never miss an update.